Welcome to the latest episode of the View from the Stands podcast. Today's episode is going to be a bit different because obviously due to the COVID-19 situation we haven't been able to sit in a room together and record a podcast since March. So we've decided we'll give it a try out on Zoom and see how that format works. We can carry on bringing the podcast through the summer hopefully. So hopefully you like it. If you like the video, make sure you let us know. Like it on YouTube, listen to it on Spotify, and let us know on our socials. Thanks, hope you enjoy it.
After a long time away, back to it. Obviously, we've been away a long time for a long lockdown, and this is a new format here. Obviously, we're not in the same room. We're in very different areas of the country at the moment. But it's all five of us again. Connell,
how are we? All right.
How's lockdown treating you, mate?
Same old. I think it's a bit boring, isn't it? But
yeah,
do what you got to do.
At least Wolves aren't losing many games at the moment, so.
Well, hi there,
every
mate.
cloud.
Yeah.
Alex, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Harvey, obviously, I don't know where the configuration is on everyone else's screen. I'm going to say Harvey down in the bottom left-hand corner because that's where he is on mine.
You're right.
But I guess it's all different on everyone else's.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is just an experiment this time. See how well this the Zoom format works. And we might be back via the internet within the next following weeks.
We'll turn up next levels.
If you like the treat. And obviously, last but not least, Tom sat enjoying the heat out in the garden.
Yeah, I might be a different colour by the end of this episode.
You might get a bit burnt.
Yeah, and it won't
very red. Medium rare.
You got your Facts 50 on?
I've got nothing on. I'm a bit worried actually.
You're asking for it then.
Seeing my dad looking through the window thinking, I don't know why he's doing that.
Boy.
Shocking.
Rookie error.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, since the last time, I remember, if I remember correctly, the last episode, we were going on a week-by-week basis, whether football would be on, whether football wouldn't be on. Sort of at that point, it was a bit trivial, but it all seemed to kick in very quickly. So how did everyone feel about when the season stopped? Obviously, where people's teams were and everything.
Go on, mate.
Oh, you can go, Tom. Go ahead. I want to hear what you want to say here, especially in a relegation battle.
It's a good start.
Yeah, I say it's a weird one because the last match Villa played was a shocking 4-0 loss at Leicester in the pouring rain, and that wasn't the best of days. But there's a bit of a blessing in disguise, really. Stop the heartbreak every weekend.
That feels like ages ago now as well, because I remember we were speaking about Rayner and why he came running out for that first goal. And that
yeah, of course.
That
We watched it in your room, Harvey.
That's been months ago, actually, thinking about it now, but it feels ages ago.
I wasn't even here. I wasn't even in the country.
Where were you?
I was in New York.
You're in New York.
He was off gallivanting over in the US, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It was. I tell
When
you
it came
what.
down to the big Rona podcast, mate, you weren't even here.
Nah, I decided to give that one a miss.
Did
Tell
you
you
and your
what.
missus have a good time?
It was good actually, but it was very weird. Because we were away, and then when we came back, everything was deserted. It was like ghost town. It's so weird. Everything changed in that week, really.
It's a weird time to go, isn't it, really?
The plane on the way back was absolutely dead.
Yeah.
It's a weird time for everyone, but when you're trying to run a football podcast, it's particularly there's not a lot of content around people sat at home. Well, you say that, but I'm pretty sure footballers have run out of content now from the intermittent. No, I mean everyone's done every sort of interview and every sort of challenge.
They've done everything, haven't they? They've done literally everything. Even the social media accounts, they've gone from doing noughts and crosses, for FIFA tournaments. They've literally gone through everything, and now they're just thinking we just need to get football back in. Luckily, they're back in training now.
It's training picks all around, isn't it?
Yeah, they're just trying to think, what can we do next?
It just feels so long since you did the toilet roll challenge in the corridor and off. I feel like year ago.
I'll perfect it now.
Just weird because we just like, I mean, like everyone did, we didn't take it seriously, did we? We just like pissing about
It just as
Just
it
didn't
time
seem
went
real.
on, it just got bigger and bigger, and it just
Yeah.
escalated as it went on. And now you're thinking it's actually huge, isn't it? Like this whole thing.
Massive.
We looked at our houses.
Even though the last few days the beaches have been packed full of people, like
That was
South
ridiculous.
End. But
There was no
I
way.
mean,
There was no way I would even think about going to the beach. I know it's nice
Do you
weather
not want to top up your tan?
anyway. Well, I could do it, but I don't do well with the heat. I get heat stroke a lot. I don't like it. Yeah,
that's the
about
that's the Irish, yeah.
about as bad as your
I
back,
doubt.
probably.
I doubt the playoff final against Fulham.
What, heat stroke?
Yeah, but that was my excuse, and I was throwing up anyway.
For the 12 pints or something. But
Yeah.
It's the sun.
One night you're probably saying I'm absolutely wanking, and you're just taking pint after pint, not each joke. I'm just what a day, what a day.
It's the heat
God.
stroke. It's the heat stroke.
I think the weird thing about it is obviously we did the last podcast probably on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
Until about the Thursday, there was a whole round of Premier League games that were still meant to be going on with crowds. I mean, I remember, obviously, on my point of view, I remember United were meant to be going away to Tottenham on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And then within a few days after that, we're in lockdown. So I mean, I saw a lot of people talking on Twitter about Arteta being diagnosed with coronavirus. There's a big moment in the whole of the coronavirus movement in this country because think of a lot more deaths could have been if Premier League grounds were packed that weekend.
Well, even thinking about it, if they didn't have the Liverpool Atletico game, something like that, like Atletico bringing 3,000 fans into England, that alone probably could have helped it out a bit more. If football stopped a week before, that could have slightly helped. And like Wolves had, who did they have? Espanyol?
Olympiacos.
Oh, okay, yeah. But so there was things like that which could have just like, altered ever so slightly, but it's hard
just
to
stuff like,
judge that at all, isn't it?
it's stuff like Cheltenham as well. How like
Oh,
we
yeah,
enjoyed
that's
it. How was
ridiculous.
that allowed to carry on? You know?
What, 250,000 people there in the week?
Yeah.
That's
Money
ridiculous.
talks, doesn't it? Money talks, and that's
Yeah.
why it carried on.
Completely forgot about Cheltenham as well.
We had a great time watching it, but you know,
Oh yeah.
we
What a week
in
that was.
the comfort of our own home.
Well, like the point you just made there, then obviously there is an element of money talks in these events going ahead. Do you think the money's what's driving the Premier League to potentially return?
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. And definitely. TV money is absolutely massive, isn't it? Sky,
Yeah.
BT, Amazon.
They wouldn't be forcing it as much once they have the money. Let's be honest. But there's really no need, except for the money, to actually force the football to be playing. So it is completely down to the money, if you ask me.
Let's say, Harv, if they said the championship's going ahead this weekend coming,
Yeah.
and Forest were at home and you was able to go, would you go?
If I was able to go, it depends who it was against and what the situation of the game was, I think. Because, like, if it was something like Blackburn at home and it means nothing at all, then I probably wouldn't. But if it's something like, you're going up on that day, or it's some importance to the game, I probably would risk it. And that's bad saying that.
Sorry to interrupt. What? Who's got the birds squeaking in there? Like,
Well, there's only one person in the garden.
can't hear a thing.
Sorry. To be fair, it did freeze for about 10-15 seconds then. I think it might be the Wi-Fi.
I did see that. It will pop up on your shoulder, the bird, in a minute.
So-
Gonna poo on
I
your
mean,
head.
the wonders
Up
of
to
technology.
England.
I asked you a question. I didn't actually hear the answer, but
Yeah, so basically,
I apologise.
Tom, probably not. But if it was an important game, maybe.
oh, fair enough.
Dangerous.
Oh, yeah,
So I'll bring a BB gun out next time. Shoot these birds.
we're so against that sort of thing here. So
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's not the views of the View from the Stand
It's not
podcast.
huge in the fans.
Please do not report us to anyone. Well, actually, they say all publicity is good publicity, so
In a
drive
way,
the views up.
when we're talking about the season carrying on, I'm not. It's a weird thing to say, but I don't really want Forest to go up this season if we're going to do it behind closed doors. And that sounds very like snobbish, and you've not been in the Premier League for 20, 21 years. But it's the fact that behind closed doors, if we went up, it won't be the same feeling whatsoever. You can't go anywhere. You can't go to the pub to see your mates. You can't go out with anyone. No town. It wouldn't be the same feeling that you'd get if it was at the ground and you were going to go somewhere after it with all your mates, your family, whatever. So there are
Yeah.
reasons to find both ways. Though.
I'm guessing everyone watched the German league last week, and it was all right. It's good to watch football, but it ain't the same, is it?
And it's obviously not the same, isn't it?
That's what I mean.
We're expecting it not to be the same, but still, it's just like, it was just not. It really, the only way to say it was really not the same.
I think. Sorry, go on, George.
I was going to say, so what the sort of argument then you have is whether what you're looking for, whether it's because there's no crowd or whether it's the social distancing rules in football. Would you accept a football where you could sit and watch it on TV at the pub, but there wouldn't be no crowds at the ground, but it'd be the full game, no social distancing, normal celebrations, everything else, same intensity? Or is it the fact that they're trying to make a lot of rule amendments is the worst part of it?
I just think it was weird that they were tackling everything, and then when it came to celebrating, they were like bumping elbows and like I thought on the bench they all had masks on, and all spaced out. I was like, well, what's? I understand the point is to minimise the risk, but if you're going out playing football, it doesn't matter anyway. So
I'm not Troy Deeney's biggest fan, but he said, I can't go and get my hair cut.
Neither am I, to be honest.
I can, be in the box for a corner, challenging for headers with like 4 or 5 other players, or more than that. But I can't go and get my hair cut. Like, it's just, when you put things into perspective, it is actually ridiculous that football is coming back.
Deeney has been one of the most vocal, isn't he, in terms of speaking about what he wants.
Yeah.
He don't want to go. He's not going to go back, is he? He's refusing to go back.
He said he's got a son with a breathing problem.
Yeah, you understand that at the same time. But then if you look at like any other job, so like if you work in a factory, if you say I'm not coming back, even though they've told all workers to go back, will they allow it?
I suppose it comes down to money again, doesn't it? Because like if you as a factory worker, you're probably more than likely to need to go back to work for a financial reason. But Troy Deeney doesn't need to go back to playing football for the money.
He's got
that luxury of being able to choose, hasn't he?
They've got the private money, so they can pay for all the testing all the time as well. It's like £4 million or something, I think. Like,
so would you?
People don't have that.
At your respective clubs that you support, would you support the clubs then docking wages for anyone who refuses to go back? So say if any like Villa, Liverpool, Forest or Wolves players decide they wouldn't go back, would you be supportive of the club docking their wages, or do you think they should still get paid and it's their choice?
Depending on their reasoning.
Yeah.
Like if they were just not going back because they're just easy for them to not go back at all. If they've actually got like and they're like logical reasons which you understandable, not just the fact that I don't want to go back because of this. Like, I think there's got to be a bit more backing behind it. But at the same time, once again, if I was in that position, I don't know what I'd do. Like, it'd be a tricky one. But I guess I would go back, like everyone else is. So.
If you've got young players that maybe live on their own, or it's just them and their partner, and they don't have kids, going back and training and maybe thinking about going back into games isn't as much of a risk. But I suppose if you've got players that have families or things like that, it's probably they're responsible for more than just themselves, then, aren't they?
The only thing about Tom is, of course, the younger they are, the less money they'll be on. So, of course, if
I don't think footballers' wages.
I mean, not in the Prem, obviously, but
yeah,
I do think it's an interesting point
leagues.
Because. But to be fair, though, even in the Premier League, you've got, who is it, Matty Longstaff or something at Newcastle. He's only on like 100, 200 quid a week still because they haven't signed him on a pro contract. So players like that really are like dependent on wages, and especially people in the Football League. I know obviously it's easy to say, which is fair enough, that the people at the top won't suffer. But again, young players at even at big clubs, some of them, and obviously Football League players are the ones who suffer from not going back. So it's kind of, they are forced into playing. I mean, obviously, Football League don't look like they're going to be going back.
I think that's the issue you got with what's happening with Danny Rose in a minute, what he said. Like, I agreed with what he said, apart from the bit about morale, because you can't say you don't care about the nation's morale because that's just it's just stupid because everybody needs to be having something to look forward to. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a tricky one, but
do you not see that then? I think him saying that it's not his or their responsibility, football's responsibility to boost the nation's morale. Like, but then obviously there is a hard one because obviously technically their job, they are paid so well because of the entertainment value of football and how many people pay to watch it. So like being entertainers, then they are responsible for morale, but also I can understand it. Like,
to be fair, I'd say like to go what Harvey said, like if it was a real job, I think if they're telling you have to come in and train and they're like, I'm not coming in to train because I don't feel safe, I don't think you can pay them, to be fair.
I think it depends how long they do it as well.
You can't be paying like, say like Van Dijk coming, you can't be paying him 200 grand a week to not come in, even though he should be coming in. I don't know. I just think.
I don't think they'll be fining them if they did it first few weeks, perhaps. But if they did it for like 6 weeks, then that's just beyond. That's just ridiculous.
I think the big argument is obviously that the government have said that it's essential workers who have to go back. It's whether footballers are essential workers. Essential. And that's where they fit. Essential for this podcast, they are.
Fans, but I mean, anyone else, they don't really care if they're going back to work. It won't affect anyone in the slightest. So are they essential workers? Probably not. Well, no.
I can't see how football, as we know it, is ever gonna go back to how what we've experienced it. I mean, me specifically, like sitting with my granddad as a season ticket holder, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that again at the Villa.
It is.
Like, will that ever?
It's a bit scary, isn't it?
We could be here this time next year, still not being able to go to a game.
Yeah,
if you're being honest, I think there's a high chance that crowds aren't at games for the into next season. Definitely not. You won't see crowds at football this year.
Yeah, I think
that's almost certain, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think so.
It's actually getting my head around though. That one, I'm actually going to have to. I think Championship will go ahead. They're saying like June the 20th. I'm actually going to have to watch Forest on TV play an empty ground, like everyone else going to have to watch their team.
I can't stand watching Villa on TV. Like, I know I'm lucky to be able to go to the games, but I mean, watching them on TV, I find it so much worse. I get like so much more nervous, anxious compared to when I'm actually at the match. I mean, when me and Alex watched us play Bournemouth away.
No, you're running about the living room. Just
I was an absolute wreck.
You see everything. That's why. You see everything. Like you see it from a better picture. You know what's going to happen. You see the guy running down the left wing. You might not have to understand. And you just think he can get past it. It's going to be a guy. It is so much more tense and horrible, but not the same emotions at the same time. You don't get. When you score a goal, it's not the same as it is round. It's not the same when you do like a challenge, something like that.
When you score the goal, or I don't know, the opposition team get a yellow card, you can't give the wankers to someone in the living room, can you?
You don't see the sad crying faces of the Reading fans when we score, and then they score after us. But it's things like that, isn't it? But.
Yeah. I still think though, if it goes on for over a year, you will see there won't be fans in stadiums, but I bet you there will be gatherings of people who can't go to the stadiums, but there's going to be alternatives around it. I mean, obviously pubs are going to be open way before football grounds are open to crowds. Are you going to get people turning up at stadiums and going to the pubs around the stadiums to create not the same atmosphere, but a bit of the atmosphere?
Well, yeah. I'm wondering when Liverpool, if Liverpool win the title, when they do win the title. Outside Anfield,
people will go.
Well, you saw with the Champions League the parade they had there.
How can they stop that? How can they stop?
Were you part of that, Alex?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
How would they be able to stop fans from going to the ground and all that? Like, but if
I don't think you can. Like,
you can't just get police.
It'd have to be punishments and like fines for people at the ground, etc. But would they care about that? Probably not. If there's so many of them.
I think you're going to have to fact check, because I was having this conversation the other day and someone said that, again, you're going to have to fact check me on it, but I think there's something where the games, if a certain amount of people turn up outside the ground, the games can be cancelled. I think this is Bundesliga,
Okay,
but I imagine there's something like that, which sounds about right. You'd imagine something like that. Like if like 1,000 Bayern Munich fans turn up outside the ground, do you reckon they'll cancel that game? Or if they get wind of that happening, they'll postpone that game, won't they?
Yeah, it makes sense.
You would have thought.
That would stop people. That's the only thing that would stop them, I think, really, the fact that the game would be off.
Yeah.
Because fines, really, people just take them or whatever.
I think that you could. I was listening to the radio and they said that you could have fans in the stadium, but the problem you've got is what facilities will be there, like the toilets. That's the big problem. You could easily spread 1,000 fans around the stadium, socially distanced, but the problem is they won't be able unless they have their own toilet.
But how would that be fair as well? For 1,000 fans, who gets picked for the 1,000 fans to go into the ground?
Exactly. Yeah, I know. That's the thing as
Unless
well.
you're like a small club, which would. But
They check your social media and sees the biggest Reds out of all of them.
Yeah.
Who's got all the biggest foot?
Yeah.
Support your local lads, they're in first.
Harv, you'd have to go back and delete some of those tweets, mate, slagging the club off.
Yeah.
It was the most
Please let me in.
They might do a OAP special for the first game and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. God.
Stone Island only in one of the games.
You get 15-minute slots.
I mean, depending on obviously what happens to the vaccine as well, there has been talk, obviously, in some of the Asian countries where they're further ahead to get crowds back in, that you could have to prove that you've tested positive, like for an app on the phone to get into grounds. That's a system that could work. I mean, you're not still on that system. You're not going to get 75,000 people in somewhere like Old Trafford or wherever like that, but you could probably get 20, 30,000 people at most in some of these big grounds if there was a system where people could prove they tested, like they've got a negative test that they haven't, or if they've got an immunity to it or whatever.
You see,
that could be something that could get football returned.
The thing is as well that the government are bringing out new guidelines, like so loss of taste and smell is a new one, but I had that. So does that mean I had COVID-19?
Yes, you did.
So, well, my mum had it as well. So that means she had it.
I thought you were going to go a completely different route then. So say like, because loss and taste and smell it is, they're like cooking food inside the ground. And if you can't smell it when you walk across the ground, you're allowed in. You could do like a smell test, like, right, you
goes up to them.
I can't smell the pie.
Blindfold and put something in their mouth. Right,
What's in front of you? Pie. No, hot dog. You know.
Smell of Bovril. Oh, I can't smell it. No,
God.
but nobody knows when. The problem is, are they going to allow us to come back in the stadiums when a vaccine's been found? But will a vaccine be found?
Not for a while.
So, if they're never found, does that mean we'll never go back? Of course, we're going to go back. But
right, do you know what? You just leave it on that line. That's the end of this podcast, like forever now. What if the vaccine's ever found? We never go back. There's never football. That's it.
Never coming back.
It. Right, thanks for tuning in to Reviews in the Stands.
I do think personally they're going to force it back too early.
Oh yeah.
A bit.
I think they already have, haven't they? Let's be honest. So,
well,
there's already a few tested positive.
You see, just in general, don't you? Like the whole nation's become restless in these last couple of weeks. Yeah. I mean, I've just been going out, for runs and stuff, and out on my bike. And in the first few weeks, like you'd hardly see anyone or any cars. But now when I go out, it feels no different to how it was before coronavirus. I'm sure it is still.
There is a lot more people now.
I think there could be a second
I know
wave,
because people have gone back to work and stuff. But...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a second wave, but I won't go into like the politics side of it.
We'll keep it. Everyone will want it. We'll all want a good rant about politics on here, but we'll keep politics neutral.
Save that for question time.
Yeah. So obviously, a different aspect of football that will be affected is obviously we're approaching transfer season as well. And I know obviously it seems a bit. It doesn't seem right maybe to be talking about transfers, but obviously it's a very real part of football, and we're here to talk about football. And obviously, it could change not just transfers to this season, but for the foreseeable future. I mean, they're talking about a lot of football league clubs could go under and stuff. And teams, I can't see anyone spending much over. Don't think you'll see £100 million player this summer. But where do you think that will leave your clubs respectively in the wider football community?
I certainly won't see £100 million player at Villa.
Not at Forest though.
I think it might be a good thing in that sense, like the fact, obviously it's not a good thing the economy's taken a massive hit, but go back to the days where, like record transfer fees were like 30 million and stuff, rather all these stupid figures. Bring it back down to earth a little bit.
You got to count inflation into it, though, aren't you? Because like Shevchenko went for like 30 odd million, but then was one of the most expensive transfers ever because of like the inflation of it now as well. But I understand what you mean. Like the transfers, they're saying Sporting Lisbon said that Bruno Fernandes, if we had waited to sign him, we could have got him for 20. I think he said like between 17 and like 27 million this summer. We paid 60 million for him like 3 months ago. So
yeah,
I mean,
I'll tell you what though, I saw like Hudson-Odoi signed like a 200 grand a week contract like a few months ago. He must be laughing right now because he won't be getting that.
I don't think he will be laughing at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, he's in a bit of trouble.
No, he won't.
I was thinking, what's he laughing at?
He'll be
less than about that.
Big trouble.
Banging on the bars of the cell, but like, mate, this is a real bad situation. But 200 bags a week at the end of the day.
I think he's lucky if he's the one that can see bars, because I'm actually dying to go to a bar, to be honest.
Of course you think of it like that.
I think, the thing is as well, there's talk about whether the Premier League could give, because they've got so much money, whether they could give some to the lower leagues to help them financially, but there's some rules and laws that you can't do that apparently, so that's
a bit tough sharing stuff out, isn't it, and making that fair and make sense. There's so much to it, which would be a struggle to do, wouldn't it, to be honest with you?
We've seen the Premier League they're extending contracts for players, aren't they? Because I know a lot of players go out of contracts in like the end of June, don't they? So I think they're extending. I know Villa have got a few players out of contracts and stuff, and
how does that work?
I think they basically said they can have like a running contract until the end of the season, like when the season does end. I don't know, and then work from there.
I thought they were. Is that the Championship as well?
I'm not sure.
I was hoping Diakabi would, piss off. I've been done. Enough of him so far. He's only got 3 games.
He's all right. He got a bit of pace.
You saw that Middlesbrough game. Dreadful. To think my last game I went to as well, I only saw 60 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear me.
I'd stay for the full night if I knew it was the last one I've seen for a month.
Absolutely.
If anyone wants to go back and listen to that podcast where Harvey fully justified that, he sees games all the time, so there's no point wasting his time to go watch it. You would have sat through that whole thing, enjoyed every last second of that 4-0 beating if you knew what was to come. Take it all in.
Obviously, it's not very nice circumstances, but I knew it'd come back and bite you on the arse, mate.
Yeah. In the worst possible way. Karma.
you hadn't left, this wouldn't have happened.
No, you're right.
Oh, no. No.
I already started it all.
You caused the pandemic.
COVID-19 started at the City Ground. Oh, no.
And I was there.
Jeez.
60. But, yeah.
So going back to what Connell said, obviously, about Premier League clubs, do you feel like a lot of people feel they should be under obligation to help out Football League clubs, or do you think at the end of the day, like, Premier League clubs aren't charities and they've got their own? I know it's obviously they've got a lot of money, but they've also got their own sort of ways. Where do you stand on that? Do you think they should be trying to help out lower clubs?
Some of the big clubs are struggling already, aren't Premier League clubs are struggling already. In terms of like Bournemouth, Burnley, those sort of clubs really can't help out lower league clubs. They've got to help themselves out first.
I think it's more
if you look at the big,
isn't it?
Yeah, the big clubs, top 6 sort of things, and maybe, but at the same time, like, it's up to them.
You see Tottenham trying to furlough their staff.
Yeah,
that's
that sort of thing happens though.
It is all very difficult, to be honest.
Yeah, we made so much money last year, but it's good that they kind of reversed it, though, didn't they? They got pressured into it.
Yeah, it was a good decision to reverse it.
Yeah, most of them did, didn't they? Yeah, I don't know what Forest are doing. I think they did furlough staff. I don't know if they still have, but it's not very good.
I haven't heard much from Wolves, to be fair.
I'm sure in the summer,
quiet, but
I'm sure in the summer Forest will sign someone for like 5 million, and suddenly we've got money again to be able to spend like that. So
it's weird though if the little clubs go under, because was there going to be like a two league like in the country, anything like that? I mean, if all the League Two clubs go under,
well, they're saying how they're going to sort out the League Two. Was it through weighted points, or they're not doing it at all?
The current top three are going up, and no one's going down, I think, in League Two.
Yeah, they
I'm pretty sure.
Came out earlier, literally just before we came on, about how they're doing it. There is promotion and relegation, isn't there, in the other leagues?
Let's talk about it then. So, what would everyone's preferred solutions be for the season? Do you think? If we go through the options, it's either void it, done, nothing happens. It's points per game, or what other sort of solutions?
I heard the other day that Jamie Carragher said whatever the Championship do about promotion or relegation has nothing to do with Premier League. Of course it does, because
that's ridiculous.
If the Premier League plays their games and 3 go down and the Championship doesn't play, does that mean that people go up? And what happens if they don't go up, that means the Premier League got a shorter amount of teams and the Championship got a bigger amount of teams. So, of course, it's going to affect it.
Yeah, it's just like a big club mentality, that, isn't it?
To be honest, from a non-biased point of view, I just think end it, give us the title, relegate bottom 3, and then
Well, end it now.
Gonna get me started, mate. I don't fancy it today.
But what happens if
French
Sheffield
League
United?
done it. Scottish League.
What happens if people came in hand?
It's the safety of the nation.
Do you know what? I've had time to prepare. I don't mind it. The Liverpool are forever going to be known as like the asterisk winners of the Premier League.
I know.
It's always going to be 20, not season 1920 asterisk. Wasn't completed. Liverpool champions. Oh, I love that, because you know that everyone and I obviously feel a bit bad, but everyone's always going to be like, well, you didn't actually win it, did you? They gave it to you, but you didn't win it, did you?
It would be the season that Leeds and Liverpool top of the league.
Yeah, it's true. It's mad. It's a very sticky situation, though, isn't it? Like, what can they do in terms of?
I honestly think that's probably the best way of doing it, though, just to end it. It's hard, and it's really bad on the relegated clubs, but it's also like, the thing is, every other solution involves people going up, but then no one going down. So you're going to have really disproportionate leagues next year with strange numbers. I'd rather see a fully complete normal season next season than to like reconfigure it just to like try hand people places and stuff this year. I feel like I'd rather see football go back to normal quicker, even if it's like, it's horrible.
I disagree. I think it has to be. I think it has to be completed. We've gone so far. We've gone so far.
So if you're saying it has to be completed, Connor, but then if it has to be completed, then it's going to be completed behind closed doors, and that's still not fair, in my opinion. Because
because you lose that home away advantage.
You might think this is biased, but like,
no, I totally get the point.
Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, but we haven't played Chelsea at Villa Park. So
I think we've got you as well.
If we play Chelsea behind closed doors at a neutral ground or whatever, at Villa Park, I mean,
Villa Park,
I think it just feels like, for me, everything seems to be going against Villa at the minute, because out of all the teams in the league, we've got the most home games left, and we've got that game in hand as well. Just feels like, I don't know. But then you look at the stats, and we're bottom of the league for everything. So, like, if we end up getting relegated,
at the end of the day,
it is what it is. But
I just think if you just cancel it, I think there'll be more problems. If you finished it.
I feel like it's either got to be. It's got to be. They've got to delay it longer and not play it straight away. So.
Play
it when it's right completely. Then play it so it gets done, because it's so deep into the season. If it was 10 games deep, you can just easily end it there. But the fact that it's so deep into the season makes me think that it should be finished. Like you're basically there. 9 games when you get to the Championship with playoffs as well, which would be 12. So
but also you've got to kind of think of the scheduling issues of it. Obviously, if the longer they delay it and the longer they take to finish it, means next season gets pushed back.
Yeah, but
and then you've got
Yeah,
issues.
it's
They've
just-
just moved the Euros to next year as well.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
Why
And
do
that's the
also
thing, it's
another issue of it kind of is, I kind of feel like if you play it, which obviously I've got issues with, but okay, if you decide to play it, you then got to play everything. You've got to play Champions League personally, you've got to play FA Cup, you've got to play Premier League, because at the end of the day, it's not just the league that people are competing for. Like United, all right, we needed a top 4 place, but at the end of the day, like, I'm just on a selfish point. We're a team who needs to win trophies, and I would have said we would have had a good shot at the FA Cup. So if you then say we've got to play league games, but we're just going to cancel cup competitions, then it's unfair, because there's teams who rely on cup competitions to win trophies at the end of the day. Like, if you've got to play it, you've got to go out and play it all. Like Champions League, Europa League, you've got to play it all then.
The problem is they've
That's
set
true.
themselves a time limit because they've put the Euro 2020 back to next year and they've set the time. Everything has to be in that time frame. If they had just said it's postponed until a further date and then let everything play out, we wouldn't be stuck to a rigid time where you have to fit everything into. I think that's, and obviously the financial things as well. Obviously, the longer it goes on, of course, is going to affect more teams. But I think they've messed it up a bit with the scheduling for me personally. But I don't know.
There's going to be a shorter gap, you'd imagine, as well, because there's a certain law in football where players have to have a certain amount for pre-season. Now the clubs will just claim that they've given them their pre-season. Now technically they've had, I think it's 3 weeks players have got to have off in between finishing. Like, so say if it's a World Cup, they've got to have a 3-week gap in between they go back to training. Are the clubs now going to say, well, you've had your 3-week gap now, all right, regardless of the circumstances, so play the season. All right, they might give them a week off, but they'll be straight into the next season, which is also going to bring different issues, because obviously football's good because it changes on a season by season basis. If you carry on and play it through, like Alex, you'll be right, and I'd like it in the same situation, because Liverpool could probably go on and carry on blitzing it like next season. Do you know what I mean? Where there's no momentum change. If there's no stop, then the momentum will go with those teams. You know what I mean? Like the off season's kind of a good thing. People have time to change, and if you get rid of that, then next season could feel dangerously like a carbon copy of whatever this season finishes like, if you know what I mean, especially with like limited transfers as well.
I mean, whatever decision's going to be made is going to upset someone, isn't it? You know, if they know the decision's going to upset Liverpool, Man United, Sheffield,
yeah, it's true.
You could not null and void it.
If it gets stopped now, and it's going to upset Villa, Watford fans. So, and it's all been because the French league, they've stopped. So it's out of sync, isn't it, with them? Because if we carry on, but they stop, they've got like longer for the Euro. It's all.
Yeah, people aren't going to like it, are they? That's the thing. Like,
I don't envy using it.
I think it's about annoying the least people, isn't it? But
yeah, it's just not going to work everyone's favour. That's the thing. But I think another point which Jordan, you sort of touched on, was the fact that now when people do come back, so when Premier League players do come back, teams come back, and the first few games start coming in, Championship games as well, teams will be so different. I think like it's like the start of a new season. It'll be who's the fittest really, who's been on it, what teams have done the most. I think Leeds. I've seen what Leeds have been doing. They've done a lot. Like they got bikes delivered round to their house, each of them. They've got this things to do every day. I saw the it was a Sky Sports thing with Calvin Phillips and Luke Ayling or something like that, and Cooper. And they've been doing a lot. But I think it is basically a pre-season now, and it's whoever comes in sharply.
And then
they come back into the
also like with who can afford, because someone like the Premier League teams, they can afford all the social distancing, whatever you need to buy for it. But a team like Barnsley, they might not be able to afford what you need. It'll
be interesting to see. There'll be some weird results, I think.
And of course, you've got as well with Deeney to say he said he's not going to play, so that's going to affect Watford because they're not going to have their captain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. A few players won't go to play because like asthma, for example, and that sort of thing.
Asthma. Yeah,
it'll be. I'm optimistic with Forest.
Saw an interview.
We're quite good at the start of season usually when we come into seasons. Usually we start off the season really well. So I'm thinking this could be the same thing for us again. Get the 9 games out of the way. It's like the first 9 games of the season. Get in the playoffs, win it. No sweat.
No sweat.
Saw an interview with Matt Target, and he said after Villa's first day of training, he was on Sky Sports, and he was asked, "But how was your fitness in that training?" He was like, "Awful." It's like it's going to take a few games before like
it's different.
players
Isn't it? It's
get back
different
into
kind of
like that
training.
proper match fitness, and especially if like we're in a relegation battle with 10 games to go.
And I
Can't
think
afford to play 3 games not feeling match fit.
with this pre-season sort of thing as well. There's no actual pre-season games to play before the Premier League's back. So therefore, they're literally just having to do training. It's not like match fitness, which is what they'll struggle with. You could see it in the Bundesliga game, Dortmund Schalke. The first 10 minutes were really slow and like no real team got going. But after 20 minutes, whatever it was, Dortmund did get going. But Schalke were well.
I think there is a personal responsibility that you need to be getting out every day, running and doing your. Yeah. I'm sure they're giving personal. I'm sure they're giving like regime from the club and stuff like that. Like it's not match fitness, but I think you need to keep a basic level. I'm sure that most of them are doing it. To be fair.
Yeah, football should.
Yeah, you're being paid all that money to be an athlete. You've got to keep it. It's your own responsibility, isn't it? For that club to stay fit.
That's what Chris Wilder was saying.
To be honest, a lot of Premier League
to put another positive spin on it as well, could you possibly see now, obviously like we touched on transfers as well, players who won't come back, is this a good time for youth players now, sort of young English talent to now develop themselves? I mean, not even just for the rest of this season, but going into next season as well. What I'd like to see is, obviously, if Football League clubs are going to be really affected, like they're barely going to be able to sign anyone, would it be good for young Premier League players who are playing in Premier League 2, which is not a great standard, to go and make up the numbers in the Football League? And you could see that development there, which will be good for the English national team going forward and stuff. So it could be good that teams will young players at low cost, which could be good going forward as well.
Yeah, I think even before like the pandemic situation, I think clubs are starting to trust younger players much more from what they've seen with people like Chelsea. Arsenal have used a few now. Teams like that have used them, and now there's lower league teams as well, especially getting loanees in, which have worked brilliantly for them. Like we've seen it so many times in the season, so many young players coming through and just looking like a really good talent, and usually getting recalled by the club in the end. So it probably will once again just keep boosting it and improving like English talent.
I mean, more at a Football League sense, because what you often see in the Football League, especially League 1 and League 2, is they will spend unnecessarily big money at their budget for like a 38-year-old because he's been a journeyman, he's played through the leagues, instead of paying but now they could be forced to put people at their youth academy. And at the end of the day, that's what football's about. If you're not putting these like youth players through, what connection do you have with the players on the pitch? If you go out and sign all 11 players in your starting lineup, it's kind of like, where is that with that? Because you've not got any the players don't have that connection to the club like what someone who's come through the club would have. So you might be forced to see in that, which would be a good positive change.
I think it's like we don't know what the transfer, if you're going to be able to buy players from Spain or Portugal, because who knows if, that country still might have the coronavirus, and we might have got, vaccine, whatever. So maybe we might be forced to play the young players. We might not be able to travel abroad. I think. So it'd be a good thing for the Euros, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a mad situation, isn't it? All in all, how has this came around?
You've got used to it, but it's still a bit surreal when you just kind of stop and think about it.
It's totally crazy.
Global pandemic.
Everybody's doing different things. Like, not everybody's doing exactly the same thing across the board. So everybody's going to have different times. Everyone's going to have different methods. That's why the German leagues come back before us, because they quarantined earlier, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't have
finding different ways, isn't it? Don't know.
I just find it proper weird. A few times I've been out, and I don't know, you'll see someone and it's like your natural reaction is to, I don't know,
high five them,
shake their hand, high five, whatever. When you see one of your mates, and it's like you're doing that thing of there's that 2 meter thing. You don't know what to do. Like, you end up just standing there. Like, I don't know if you used to meet up with a girl in year 7, you used to walk around the park or something like 2 meter distance. Like,
you're social distancing way before the time, mate. What I was going to say, another question. Obviously, we've seen footballers who've made bad mistakes. Well, mistakes. People who behave badly in lockdown. So I'm talking Jack Grealish, Hudson-Odoi, which is obviously that's a criminal matter, but Morgan Gibbs-White,
Yeah.
Kyle Walker.
sorry, I said Kyle Walker.
Serge Aurier.
But then
three times.
You've also seen footballers obviously donated to charity. Obviously, the footballers joined in to donate money to the NHS. So, where do you feel like this period has maybe damaged with people's relationships with footballers again, or do you feel like people feel more optimistic about footballers on a whole?
I'd say it's actually improved. In terms of the people who have respected it and done what they've had to do, they've been getting involved in like FIFA tournaments, FM tournaments, doing like live videos, video calls, those sort of things, interacting with the club as much as they can. They've really like helped themselves out, if anything, and shown what they're like off the pitch more than on the pitch. Like for Forest, for example, Matty Cash done a lot of work with Sky, same with Dawson, doing the Forest with the social media. So it's worked in his benefit, his favour. But there are obviously there's players like Kyle Walker who I don't think they really understand it at all. That obviously they're in the eye of the media. You've just got to respect what you've got to do. Obviously, you're not going to get away with doing stupid things like he's done.
I think at the start they were getting a bit of abuse, but then they came up with the players together thing, and then I think the public have responded in a positive way. But then when you see people doing stupid stuff, it does make it look like all that effort's worth nothing. Because there's always the negatives always outweigh the positives. Always.
We spoke about similar things before, haven't we? Like at the end of the day, the ones that have done things wrong, Kyle Walker, Jack Grealish, for example. There's hundreds of thousands of people in the country that have been doing these things, but that doesn't get highlighted. It gets highlighted to them because they're in the in the public eye and stuff. But I suppose that comes with a responsibility, doesn't it? So because they know they're in the public eye.
It's because they go on their Instagram and they go, "Stay home," blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and they see them in the news
2 days
the next
later,
day, having like 10
Oh,
people around their house.
Isn't it funny that there's two of these people in this call, Tom and Connell, your idols, Jack Grealish and Morgan Gibbs-White, both misbehaving. They're good role models, aren't they?
Not my
I
idol.
bet Tom had a Twitter account going, Grealish did nothing wrong, yeah.
Justice for Grealish.
Harvey, I've always told you I like a bad boy.
Groovy Grealish.
Very true.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon Jackie Grealish to United this summer still?
Or? If we get relegated, yeah, definitely, 100%.
So yes, then.
I say yes, then. Yeah.
We'll see.
Do you reckon he'd have an upturn in attitude playing for United, or do you think even more fame would maybe lead him to, I don't know, follow bad behaviour again?
He had a bit of a reputation when he first broke onto the scene at Villa at like 18, 19 of being this, party animal. But all these pictures went round with him, didn't they? But since then, he hasn't really stepped out of line until this thing that's come out recently with coronavirus. He's actually, massively changed. He said when Tim Sherwood was at Villa and had Ray Wilkins as the assistant manager, like they'd just changed him massively as a person, and how he sees his career as being professional and stuff. So I don't know. I think he'd just carry on from where he has been the last couple of years if he went to United. Really, I don't think he'd change. At the end of the day, he is the captain of Villa in the Premier League, and
I think it'd be good for his England career.
Oh yeah, definitely. If he went to United, he'd be in the England squad straight away.
I see that less and less likely happening. Grealish United now, to be honest, not just with the behaviour thing. I just think he may have been, obviously before coronavirus, may have been a luxury transfer for United. Someone that when they were planning to flex the budget this summer, but not someone, if they're now told they could only sign 2 players, I don't think Grealish should be one maybe they'd consider essential. Not sure.
It was Spurs originally, wasn't it? And then...
Yeah. I could see him fitting in maybe. It depends though. Grealish and Mourinho, whether that where that works.
I think
you know,
I think he'd be good at United under Solskjaer. Definitely, I think that would work.
He fits sort of what we're doing. I just think that if we're going to spend big, I think it'd be more towards Jadon Sancho rather than Grealish. But
You could swap
even
it
he's
for,
looking a bit
Hopefully,
like he's
mate.
put on the pounds and
Hopefully.
stuff.
swap
Yeah, his
for Pogba.
haircut.
About a swap for Pogba.
No chance, mate. Poor Pogba, best player around.
We'll do a swap for Pogba if you want. We'll have Pogba in the Championship, and
I think he'd decline.
You reckon?
I think just about. I think the wages might be a bit too low.
Go on, then. some
Soonest we'll
questions then.
transfer to a championship football team.
What's everyone been doing to fill the void of football then? Any recommendations for any viewers on TV, FIFA? What's been going on?
TV. You want to know about TV?
Netflix.
I've had a few series on Netflix.
You've been watching that Last Dance?
Oh, mate, I'm a massive. I've always loved the basketball, mate. Since I started watching that last week.
Mate, have you
I
ever
promise, I've always watched basketball.
Madison Square Garden, anyone? Oh, just me then.
Oh,
Alex again, I think.
Alex has.
No, I started watching it last night. It's decent, to be fair.
yeah, I'm about 5 episodes into it. It's good, you know.
Money
I've been
Heist.
watching a few. Been watching a few things. No, I'm not saying that.
Money Heist is brilliant.
In there,
Quality.
wait, who's seen the Michael Jordan thing then, The Last Dance?
I'm
guessing
got
Alex
2
has.
episodes in.
No, I haven't.
Because I was going to ask, what do you reckon the football equivalent of that would be? I kind of feel like
I've seen Roy Keane.
the whole situation. What's that?
Roy Keane's been said before. I saw someone on Twitter say about him being like Roy Keane.
What, Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
I'd say, would Michael Jordan not be more like a Cristiano Ronaldo figure?
I think his attitude's more like Roy Keane.
That's what people are saying, I think.
He's more like Ronaldo kind of stays, but Roy Keane.
He's a bit like I think he's more of like a Zlatan.
Nah, Dennis Rodman.
I'm gonna have to
don't
move
know.
out the sun here. I'm burning. I need to move.
Alan Brazil, mate.
He was a house top fan.
No, what did you say, Harvey? Money Heist, did you say?
Money Heist, yeah, brilliant little
I've heard
series.
that's good, yeah.
Takes a bit of concentration. You can't be going on your phone during it, but it is deep.
Oh, it's all subtitled, isn't it?
Yeah. Neymar's in it as well, which is weird.
You
Is
can't
it?
be on your phone.
He makes a little appearance. No reason whatsoever.
Is his sister in it?
His sister's not in it.
I was going to say maybe that's why he'd
And,
but
also, Drive to Survive as well. F1. Tom watched it, I know that. Great.
Oh,
Yeah.
superb,
Mm.
mate.
Might
That's
watch
all
that.
good
Yeah.
series.
I missed about 30 seconds what he said then, but I've watched Afterlife too.
Oh,
yeah, that was good.
mate, class.
I didn't.
You didn't like
Right,
it?
I didn't. I didn't think it was as good as the first series.
You don't?
I
Yeah.
thought they should have extended it at the first two, to be honest. I think,
I thought it was decent. 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Personally,
Going
I
away
thought it
from
was
the football
funny
thing,
with-
then
Go on.
going into this, where do you reckon Afterlife ranks amongst Ricky Gervais things?
It's nowhere near The Office, is it? Let's be honest.
No.
That is GOAT.
It's up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably better than Derek. I think.
It's better. I have it above Derek and probably below it. If you've seen Extras, I think Extras might be one of Ricky Gervais's best things.
Yeah, Extras
I
is
think-
really good.
And
I think Extras is slightly above.
and didn't he do a little bit of An Idiot Abroad as well?
Yeah, Idiot Abroad's his stuff as well, isn't it? Which is class anyway.
I don't know. I think that's a bit annoying.
Why do you not like Carl Pilkington?
He's all right. He's just after a while, he's a moan head, isn't he? Doesn't he?
You're like a Brummy Carl Pilkington in a sense.
I'm not a Brummy. I am not a Brummy.
You're a yam.
Going back,
The years
going
got me
back
a
to football
Brummy.
a little bit.
Jeez.
Anyone seen is it Harry's Heroes, the new one?
Yeah,
I
that was
watched the first one last night. Yeah.
Oh, was it Harry's Euros or something like that?
Harry's.
It's called, isn't
Yeah, Harry's Heroes, I think. Yeah,
I haven't seen that yet.
that was good.
it? Decent. It's decent. You can see there's a big,
Right,
there's a
if
big
we-
thing at the minute on telly, isn't there, with like
nostalgia
advocating
for England.
I think
I mean about mental health and like mental health awareness and stuff.
Yeah.
Because
That was
there's
what-
a lot
that
of
was
it is
why it was-
based on that sort of stuff, isn't it?
that was why it was so good to have it on this week, because it was obviously mental health. It wasn't just about the football. It was like
Yeah.
showing you the different sides of, just because they got so much money and are popular, you can still have trouble.
We showed you with Merson on, because you see him on Soccer Saturday every weekend, but you know.
Yeah, it's changed my opinion on him a bit. I thought he's a bit of a tit Merson, to be honest, but he seems
He's
like
proper-
obviously he's had his issues, and
Yeah. But, no, I enjoyed it. Like,
Mental lifestyle though. They're probably
watching that Brassic, a bit of it. On
Oh, I've
Sky.
seen a bit of that.
Yeah, that's
In the second series.
Yeah,
And he
that's
cuts-
all right.
you just watch it
Guys,
for
cut his
Michelle
head
Keegan, don't you? Mate, you don't need to watch it now. You spoiled it for everyone, Connell.
I didn't say who did.
With that, like with the Harry Redknapp thing, I was having a conversation last night. Right, if that was to happen with our like generation of footballers in 20 years' time, who do you reckon would be the players who'd take part in it?
Lingard, definitely.
I had Danny Welbeck down as the type of, like about 30 England caps. Like he's like someone who would do it. I had Scott Parker, someone who would be like that type of thing.
Micah Richards, 100%.
Micah Richards, yeah,
100%.
Troy Deeney.
Crouchy. Now he ain't got an England cap.
Mm.
But
Deeney,
just
has he?
saying, I wish him had done. It's just weird because John Barnes, in his day, he was like a massive athletic guy. Now he's, a big fella. It'd be weird just in the future to see Raheem Sterling playing with, a massive dad bod or something like that. Harry Kane with
Sean
massive,
Wright Phillips.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Do you reckon Sterling's this generation's equivalent to John Barnes, or is that an insult?
I can't compare. I don't really know.
Mm.
He could be as good, but not yet. I'd say. From what I've seen.
Talk about Sean Wright Phillips. He was in my quiz last night. The question was, who's taller?
I thought you meant he was actually on it.
Who's taller?
Guest appearance.
Who's taller? Who's taller? Perry from Little Mix or Sean Wright Phillips?
Perry.
Who
Sean Wright
was?
Phillips.
You think Wright Phillips is taller?
I think Perry.
Oh, taller. I'll say Perry. Perry, yeah.
Taller.
Is it Perry?
It is actually Sean Wright Phillips, I'm afraid.
Oh,
Perry's
he's
5'4", he's 5'5".
Jeez.
Yeah, you don't waste your reapings, do you, mate?
That was a great
I like
question.
the image of Sean Wright Phillips accidentally joining your Zoom thing if he'd got the wrong password or something. Like, just pops in the
I'm
chat.
sorry.
He's got one of these going on. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking the wrong one here.
It's
So
like
small,
that
you
house.
can
It's like that
pop
house
the
party thing that was
Just pops
going
up.
around at the start of lockdown.
Mm.
I've been there with a few of my mates, and some random girl would come in, like, and leave
That was
again.
a weird
Just go,
Oh, yeah.
hey?
That was a weird place, wasn't it? Like a house party.
I did for about 2 days and got rid of it.
I had to get
It was
rid of
good before
Like that
all
thing go around
the
that.
hacking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it turned very dodgy.
Quizzes have saved us in the lockdown.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Honestly, when we go back to uni, we need to do a pub quiz, lads, because I think we're gonna smash it now.
I've got it all. Every department. We could talk geography. We could talk science. I'd boss it.
Capital
Yeah.
cities, mate. Now, just like
What's the capital
that's
of
your bread and
Estonia?
butter stuff now.
What's the capital of
Huh?
Estonia? Capital of
Yeah, I
Estonia.
don't know that. I don't know that one, but
You
Come
played
on,
it
well,
once yesterday.
thing is, now ours are just getting up and up and up. So at the start, it's just 30 questions, but now it's like listen to a song and then guess the next line and stuff like that.
yeah.
So much pressure now to just make it better and better.
I mean, one of our mates did a thing. You see them on Twitter and stuff. When it's like a footballer's head, but it's split into 3 different people.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
So it's like the head is someone, the eyes
love
is someone,
that.
the mouth is someone. Did his own one of them, like, but a fair few of them. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
pulling out all stops here. I mean, I dressed up as Donald Trump for one of the quizzes.
Turn it into like
Lockdown's gone to your head.
turn it into a question of sport.
I did a who tweeted that with footballers, and I did like loads of
Oh,
footballers.
that's a good one.
Les Scott's in
That's
there.
Wanyama in it.
No, I didn't have Wanyama. I had Tammy Abraham. He says, they say you are what you eat. That's funny because I don't remember eating a sexy beast this morning.
Oh, I saw that. I've done that one
Funny
before.
ones I've never seen before.
That's brilliant.
Do you know what? I
Yeah.
just wonder with footballers, like if you're about to make your debut, you know within a day or two advance, like you're about to be put on the world stage, you would clear your tweet deck, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You would clear
Yeah.
your old tweets on that day,
There'll
wouldn't
just
you?
be
You wouldn't-
there'll be that one Chelsea super fan who's scouted him from age 14 and just,
Yeah, just knew he's had those saved.
Yeah.
I've always knew he was going to be good. Right, I suppose are we going to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So,
It's been nice
if
to
anyone
talk,
has any,
lads.
it's been nice to
Oh,
talk.
yeah.
If anyone has any content
Good to be back.
suggestions, any ideas of things we talk about, we'll be back within the next week or so. Again, obviously, approaching maybe football coming back within a month's time. We'll have some sort of special episodes lined up. Obviously, hopefully the Zoom format worked well.
I'll try and do
If you
something about
liked
these
it.
birds next week.
Yeah, please do some exterminator or something, mate. Send in the pest control. Right, nice to talk to you, lads.
Cheers.
Yep.
Thank you.
So,
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the A View from the Stands podcast. If you like this podcast and want to listen to more, please subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for listening.